My first panic attack happened in the cleaning products aisle of a grocery store. Between laundry detergent and paper towels, no warning, no clear sign. One moment I was comparing prices, the next, I thought I was dying. Heart pounding so hard I thought it would burst through my chest, hands shaking, vision blurring. People walked past me, pushing their carts, picking out products, living their normal lives, and there I was, standing frozen, falling apart inside. I thought it was the end. In reality, I was paying the price for one sentence I'd heard my whole life: quit crying, toughen up, be a man. I grew up in a small house on the edge of town, vinyl siding that needed paint, TV always on in the living room, not a lot of deep conversations. My dad was a construction worker. Rough hands, tired eyes, bent back from years of labor. He'd leave before sunrise, before I even woke up. He'd come home at dusk, covered in dust and sweat, sit on the back porch with a beer and stay quiet. He wasn't a bad man. He was just a man who never learned to talk about what he felt. The first time I remember crying for real was when my dog Buddy died. I was 7. Buddy was a mutt my mom let me keep after weeks of begging. He slept in my room, followed me everywhere, was my only real friend back then. One morning, Buddy didn't wake up. I found him in the backyard, lying under the tree, still. We buried him with a rusty shovel in the corner of the yard where he used to lie in the sun. I sat there, looking at that little mound of dirt, and the tears just kept coming. I didn't make noise, just cried. My dad got home from work, saw me sitting there, eyes red, dirt on my hands, and asked, "What happened?" "Buddy. He died, Dad," I said, pointing at the ground. He shook his head like he was disappointed. "It's just a dog, Daniel. You're gonna lose a lot worse in life. If you cry over this, you're not gonna make it." He walked inside. Didn't console me, didn't hug me, didn't tell me it was okay to feel sad. That day, I learned that sadness didn't deserve much space, that a man couldn't afford to cry over little things. Another time, I was riding my bike down the street with neighborhood kids. I fell, scraped my knee and elbow, blood everywhere. I ran inside crying, looking for my mom. But my dad saw me first. He grabbed the bottle of rubbing alcohol, poured it straight on the wound without saying a word. It burned like hell. I screamed, cried harder. He said, voice firm, "You want me to give you a real reason to cry? Stand still. Boys don't cry over scratches." I held still, clenched my teeth, closed my eyes, and stopped crying. Not because it stopped hurting, but because I understood that showing pain was unacceptable. The message was always the same. Pain is okay. Crying is not. At school, the message was the same. If someone made a joke that actually hurt, and I showed it, kids would say, "Don't be so sensitive, man. Can't you take a joke? What, you gonna cry?" I learned to laugh along, to pretend I didn't care. On the basketball court, which was my escape, the coach was even worse. If I twisted my ankle or got knocked down hard, he'd yell from the sideline, "Walk it off, Daniel. Real men don't feel pain. If you can't handle it, go home to your mama." I'd get up, limping, tears in my eyes that I refused to let fall. Different mouths, same message. Never show weakness. By the time I hit my teens, I'd turned that rule into my personal law. As a teenager, I became the funny guy. It was my defense mechanism. If something hurt me, I made a joke about it before anyone else could. I protected myself with humor. I remember once in high school, a girl I really liked, Jessica, turned me down in front of everyone at lunch. I'd asked her to homecoming. She laughed, turned to her friends and said loud enough for everyone to hear, "Daniel, no thanks, I'd rather go alone." Everyone laughed. I laughed too and said, "Your loss, I'm married to my Xbox anyway." More laughter. Pats on the back. They thought I didn't care. That night I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, feeling like garbage. But I told myself, "Get over it, it's not a big deal, don't be weak." I didn't know it yet, but I was building a bomb inside my own chest. Every time I swallowed something down, every time I pushed away an emotion, every time I chose to laugh instead of admitting it hurt, I was stacking pressure. When my dad got sick, I was 19. Lung cancer. Too many years breathing in dust and chemicals. He couldn't work anymore. My mom looked at me, eyes tired and scared, and said, "You're the man of the house now. We need you." I took that seriously. Too seriously. I dropped out of community college, grabbed any job I could find, stocking shelves at a warehouse, delivering packages on a beat-up bike, night shifts at a gas station, whatever it took. Eventually, after months of applications, I landed an office job at a logistics company, entry level. Nothing glamorous, but steady pay, benefits, something stable. From then on, I became the responsible guy. At work. Give it to Daniel, he always gets it done. Daniel, you're organized. Can you handle this? At home. Ask Daniel, he'll know what to do. Daniel, can you help with this? There was a twisted kind of pride in that. Being the one who never breaks, the one who always has the answer, the one who never fails. But that pride came with a cost. The signs were there, but I ignored them all. Constant back pain that never went away. Headaches almost every day that I numbed with pills. Heart racing for no reason in the middle of the night. Insomnia. Sometimes at 3 a.m., I'd be wide awake, lying in the dark, mind racing about. Bills due next week. My dad's health. The car that needed fixing. Money I lent my brother that I knew I'd never get back. The uncertain future. My mind never stopped. But in the morning, I'd get up, put on my shirt, drink strong coffee, and go out to tough it out another day. If someone asked, "How are you doing, Daniel?" I'd always answer, "I'm fine, just tired." Fine was a lie. Tired was the only part of the truth I allowed myself to say. On the day of my first panic attack, I woke up already exhausted. Barely slept at all. At breakfast, my mom mentioned, almost casually, that the electric bill was overdue again. "Don't worry, Mom. I'll take care of it," I said automatically. My younger brother, who was 23 and still couldn't hold down a job, texted me, "Bro, can you spot me for rent? I'll pay you back next month, promise." He'd said that 3 times before. But I replied, "Yeah, I'll transfer it later." Got to work. My boss was waiting with a stack of urgent reports. "Daniel, I need this done today." No exceptions. It was 9 a.m. I got off at 6. I nodded. Spent the whole day running between calls, emails, problems to solve. Didn't even eat lunch. At 6 p.m., I left work with a pounding headache. When I got home, I realized there was nothing in the fridge. No rice, no eggs, nothing. I sighed. On my way home, I stopped at the grocery store. Thought I'd just grab the basics. Rice, some chicken, bread, milk. In and out quick. I had no idea I was about to cross the invisible line of years of accumulated silence. I grabbed a cart, started walking down the aisles. Rice, pasta, bread, milk. Checking prices, doing mental math. If I skip this, maybe I can make rent. If I stretch that, maybe I can pay the credit card. Every product was a difficult decision. Every number was another weight on my back. Halfway down the cleaning aisle, it hit, out of nowhere. My heart started pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat, in my temples, in my chest. Vision blurred. The shelves seemed to tilt toward me. The store lights became too bright, too loud. My hands started shaking so badly I let go of the cart. I tried to breathe deep, but it felt like the air stopped halfway down, like breathing through a straw. This is it, I thought. I'm having a heart attack. I'm going to die here, next to the bleach and paper towels. Panic took over. Sounds around me became muffled, distorted, like I was underwater. I heard voices, but couldn't understand the words. I leaned against the shelf, trying not to fall. An employee in an orange vest walked by, saw me, came over worried. "Sir, are you okay? Do you need help?" I wanted to scream, "No! I think I'm dying! Call an ambulance!" But years of training spoke first. Voice shaking, I said, "Yeah, just got a little dizzy. I'm fine." Even there, face pale, legs weak, about to collapse, I couldn't admit I wasn't okay. The employee didn't believe me. Called security. They helped me sit on the floor, gave me water, called an ambulance. In the ER, they hooked me up to all kinds of machines. Ran every test. Blood work, EKG, blood pressure, oxygen levels. I lay there staring at the white ceiling, fluorescent lights, waiting for the worst news. Heart attack. It's gotta be a heart attack. I'm gonna die young like my uncle. The doctor came in with a chart in his hand. Good news first, he said. Your heart is fine. This wasn't a heart attack. All your numbers look normal. I exhaled in relief. For a second, I thought it was all a false alarm. Then what was it, Doc? He looked at me for a moment before answering. It was a panic attack. I frowned. Panic? No. I don't get those. I'm not like that. He sat on the edge of the bed. Have you been under a lot of stress lately? Normal. Sleeping well. Sometimes. Carrying a lot of responsibility? Like everyone. Problems at home? At work? Every question hit right in the center. I shrugged. Doc, who isn't stressed these days? He didn't smile. He just looked at me with something like compassion. Stress is one thing. What you had today is your body screaming for help because your mind isn't allowed to. He paused. You're not weak. You've been too strong for too long, all by yourself. I nodded politely. But inside I was thinking, panic attack is for people who can't handle life. For weak people. I'm not like that. The lie I'd been fed was so deep, so ingrained, that not even a professional's diagnosis broke it right away. They discharged me with a prescription for anti-anxiety meds and a pamphlet on managing anxiety. I folded it and stuffed it in my back pocket without reading it. At home, my mom was waiting, worried. What happened, son? You scared me. I said. Nothing serious, Mom. Blood pressure dropped. I didn't eat enough today. They said to rest. I lied, because admitting the truth, that I'd had a panic attack, meant admitting weakness. And that to me was worse than any physical illness. At work the next day when people asked, I said, food poisoning. Got some bad takeout. I'm fine now. Everyone nodded. No one asked more. I felt ashamed. Ashamed that my own body had exposed what I'd been hiding for years. I wasn't okay. I couldn't handle everything. I was at my limit. Inside my head, a voice kept repeating my father's words. You're being dramatic. Real men don't have panic attacks. Suck it up. Don't be weak. The following weeks were hell. I started being afraid of everything. Afraid to go back to the grocery store. Afraid to get on the bus. Afraid to go out alone. Afraid it would happen again in front of everyone. Fear of fear itself. But I didn't tell anyone. At work, I forced the same smile. Made the same jokes. Solved the same problems. At home, I said it was just tired. At night, lying in bed, in the darkness, I'd listen to my heartbeat. Every beat reminded me of what had happened. And I'd think, if I die now, if I have another attack and this time it's real, no one will know what was happening inside. No one will know how hard it was to get up every day. No one will know I was silently asking for help. Surrounded by people, and completely alone at the same time. One afternoon, at work, a coworker, Sarah, asked if I wanted to grab a coffee at the shop across the street. We weren't super close, but we'd always been friendly. We sat down. She ordered a latte. I got black coffee. She took a sip, looked at me for a second, and said, You're not okay, are you? I tensed up, took a breath, ready to give my usual answer. I'm fine, just tired. But this time the words got stuck in my throat. I looked at my cup, and to my own surprise I said, I had a panic attack. At the grocery store, a few weeks ago. Hearing myself say that out loud was like hearing someone else. In my head, me and panic attack didn't belong together. I braced for the joke, braced for the don't be dramatic, braced for her to look at me differently. Instead, she nodded calmly and said, Me too. I blinked. What? I've had panic attacks, she said. Several. I've been in therapy for a year. I take medication, and it doesn't make me weak. It means I waited too long to ask for help. She looked me straight in the eye. Have you thought about seeing a therapist? I almost laughed. Therapy? That's for people with real problems. She raised an eyebrow. And what do you call almost collapsing in a grocery store aisle? Silence. For the first time, I didn't have an answer. A few weeks later, after opening and closing the schedule appointment page 1,000,000 times, after typing and deleting the message to the therapist 20 times, I finally booked a session. The day of the first appointment, I almost canceled. 3 times. But I went. Sitting in front of the therapist in a small office with a plant in the corner and soft lighting, I felt ridiculous. She asked, voice calm, "What brings you here today?" I hesitated, then said, "I had what they called a panic attack at a grocery store. I don't know. I still don't really believe it." She asked me to describe what happened. As I talked, I felt it again. The tightness in my chest, the burning in my eyes. I stopped mid-sentence, trying to swallow it down, like always. She said calmly, without judgment, "You don't have to hold it in here. You're allowed to feel. This is a safe space." No one had ever said that to me and meant it. I cried. Ugly. Messy. Shaking. Not just for the grocery store, but for everything. For the 7-year-old boy with the dead dog, who wasn't allowed to cry. For the teenager who laughed at himself to hide that it hurt. For the adult who nearly killed himself trying to be invincible. When I calmed down, embarrassed, she said, "You've spent your whole life learning not to need anyone. Your body is showing you there's a limit to that. You're not a machine. You're human. And humans need help." A few sessions later, with my heart in my throat, I decided to tell my mom I was in therapy. We sat at the kitchen table where we always talked. I said, "Mom, I've been seeing a therapist, because of what happened, the panic attack." She looked surprised at first, then worried. "Panic? Like your heart?" "More like my head," I said. She looked down, stayed quiet for a moment, moved her coffee cup around, and said something I wasn't expecting. "Your father used to get like that too." I froze. "What do you mean?" He'd turn pale, break out in cold sweat, say he couldn't breathe, that his chest hurt. But he always said it was just nerves, that men don't get nervous. He never wanted to see a doctor, said that was for the weak. She sighed, sadness in her eyes. "Sometimes, when you kids were asleep, I'd find him sitting alone in the dark on the back porch, hands on his head, breathing fast. And I'd hear him whisper, like praying, 'I can't fall apart. I'm the man of this house. I can't fall apart.' In that moment, I understood. This wasn't just my story. It was an inheritance. My dad carried that invisible weight too. And he never asked for help. Because he was taught, just like me, that doing so meant being weak. Therapy didn't magically fix everything. There was no magic moment. I didn't wake up cured. But it gave me tools. I started to notice the warning signs before it was too late. When my chest started tightening. When my thoughts started racing. When my breathing changed. Instead of telling myself, "Be a man and power through," I tried something new. Saying, "I'm not feeling well, I need to go home," instead of working myself into the ground. Telling my boss, "I can't take on more right now," instead of accepting every extra task. Telling a friend, "I've been having panic attacks," instead of making a joke and changing the subject. Did everyone understand? No. Some people got uncomfortable and changed the topic. Others made awkward jokes. "So you're fragile now?" That hurt. But some said, "Man, I've been going through something similar. I thought I was the only one. Thanks for telling me. Makes me feel less alone." I realized there are a lot of men out there suffocating in silence, thinking they're alone, because no one has the courage to be the first to say, "I'm not okay." I was raised to never show weakness, to swallow my tears, to suppress my fear, to endure pain in silence, to be the man of the house, no matter the cost. Today I'm paying the price in anxiety, in panic, in sleepless nights, in a body that screams what my mouth was never allowed to say, and in the daily, difficult, painful work of unlearning what they told me it meant to be a man. But if there's one thing I know now, it's this. Being a man is not about carrying everything in silence. Being a man is not about never asking for help. Being a man is not about swallowing pain until your body explodes. Being a man, to me today, is about having the courage to look inside, to admit it hurts, and to say out loud without shame, I can't do this alone, and that's okay. Real strength isn't in enduring everything. Real strength is knowing when to ask for help. If any part of this story resonated with you, if it made you think of someone you know, or if you saw yourself in it, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next stories. Because we don't talk about perfect men here. We talk about real men. With fear. With pain. With a desire to heal. Share this video with someone who might need it. In the next video, I'm going to tell you about a father who spent his whole life trying to be the strong one. Never cried in front of his kids. Never showed weakness. Until the day his 8-year-old son caught him crying in the car. That moment changed everything between them. Don't miss it. See you in the next video.